Chapter 41. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Be sure to subscribe. 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 Chapter 56. On the 9-character army camp, the vampires are still drinking and reveling to celebrate the victory of the war. Rumble. Suddenly, the earth shook. The huge sound of fighting suddenly sounded, instantly waking everyone up from their drinking. They all looked up to the sky. 2 blood-red suns flew up entangled, flying higher and higher, and finally collided fiercely in the sky. The terrifying shock wave was like a tide, sweeping in all directions. Every collision caused a loud rumbling sound, accompanied by the sudden appearance of light of energy and blood. Kill! Alves unfolded his 6 wings, his expression was ferocious and violent, and he released powerful energy and blood, and his punches and kicks were earth-shattering. Morpheus also roared, with his fangs exposed and his eyes red. Behind his fat body, 6 blood-red holy wings shone brightly, and the energy and blood around his body were entangled like crazy dragons. The 2 brothers started a brutal fight. For a moment, everyone was shocked. No one knew what was going on. At the Brook clan's celebration banquet, the heads of the 5 major families were drinking, having fun, and talking happily. Hearing the movement outside, everyone showed understanding smiles. He didn't put down the wine glass or let go of the hand holding the beauty. He still did whatever he was supposed to do without caring at all. The Riefno clan had already greeted them in advance. For their 5 major royal clans, instead of interfering in this dispute, they will be happy to see its outcome. If a real holy war breaks out between the Riefno clan and the Cape clan, then the 5 of them will be very happy to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight, and then see if there is a chance to reap the benefits. So just after the war ended this morning, when Marquis Angus Revener approached the 5 families and hoped that they would not interfere in this matter, everyone readily agreed. TSK, 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 these 2 brothers fought really fiercely. Marquis Brooke smiled sarcastically. It's so pleasant to see such a good show at the celebration banquet. The Riefno clan plans to attack the Cape clan. They are really not afraid of triggering a holy war. Next to him, the head of the Vlad clan chuckled and said, is Duke Adolf so confident that he can defeat Duke William? If they fight theirs, it's best to fight so that both sides will be injured. When the time comes. The corners of Marquis Giordani's lips curled up. Everyone showed a meaningful smile. The fight between the 2 6-winged marquises has reached a fever pitch. Everyone in the Cape Tian clan's army looked frightened and worried. They didn't know why the family leader and the Marquis of Alves were fighting each other. Did you drink too much at the celebration banquet? But they could only watch. There was nothing they could do. Laugh! A shrill scream suddenly sounded, piercing the night sky. Morpheus cruelly and ruthlessly tore off one of Alves's holy wings alive and threw it from the sky, spreading blood all over the sky. He let out a domineering and ferocious roar like a lion. Now do you understand why I am the head of the family? Because I am better than you. It's that simple. That the holy wings that symbolized glory and strength were torn off, which meant that they were completely at a disadvantage, and the lost holy wings could not grow back. Alves looked horrified. He had lost one of his holy wings and his strength had dropped a lot. Marquis Morpheus was unyielding when he gained the upper hand. He rushed forward with a strong and domineering attitude and beat up the drowned dog. Another holy wing was torn off. Alves changed from 6 wings to 4 wings, and his strength was naturally reduced to the 4-winged Marquis. He finally broke down and begged for mercy. Brother. Don't kill me, brother. I am your biological brother. Have you forgotten how good we used to be? However, Marquis Morpheus's eyes were cold. If he could become the head of the family, he would definitely kill decisively. Although Alves is his older brother, he can no longer keep him if he has other ideas. Boom, with one palm strike, the ground shook. Alves was annihilated in this palm. The 6-winged Marquis can be reborn with a drop of blood, but his energy and blood have also been wiped out, and he cannot die again. There was a trace of sadness in Morpheus's eyes. He killed his brother with his own hands, which was not what he wanted. Bang bang bang, applause sounded behind him. The Marquis of Ravno, and his son Alger, appeared beside Morpheus. Jia, you did a good job, you really had to do it. Marquis Riefno joked, among the 6-winged marquises, your strength ranks among the top 3. Your son was not killed by our brothers. Morpheus gave them a cold look. It's not important. Marquis Riefno sneered, you don't have to feel wronged or aggrieved. In fact, even if you are not the murderer, the result will not change. What on earth do you want to do? Morpheus shouted, what good will it do to you to start a war with our Cape clan? Marquis Riefno shook his head, his eyes became crazy, and he said gloomily, don't you think there are too many royal clans in Nikala? What's the point of dividing the world into 7 points? Let me tell you, the Blood clan is the one who unifies the country. The future. Morpheus was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes became horrified. He looked at the father and son in disbelief. Do you think? Do you understand now? Your Capet clan is just the first one. Don't worry, you won't be alone. Marquis Riefno laughed crazily, ask for flowers 0. It's really ridiculous. Just Adolphe, a duke, wants to annex the 6 major families. What an idiot! Morpheus shouted. His voice was loud, but it could not be heard because the surrounding space had been blocked by Duke Adolphe. Don't worry. Marquis Riefno stuck out his tongue, raised his fangs, and looked ferociously. I said that one of you 2 brothers can leave, so I won't kill you. You can go back alive, but that's just alive. Morpheus's face changed drastically, warning signs rose in his heart, and he was about to respond, but it was too late. Rumble. In an instant, thousands of dazzling thunderbolts fell from the sky and struck Morpheus instantly, drowning him like sea water. Ah! Morpheus screamed, his energy and blood were eroded by the violent thunder, and the 6 holy wings on his back fell off one after another until there was nothing left. 0. The scream stopped abruptly. Morpheus, who was charred and black, fell from the sky. There is no doubt that it was Duke Adolphe who took action. The only one who could kill the 6-winged Marquis instantly was the Duke. Master, the soldiers of the Cape clan cried out in grief. A 2-winged Marquis flew over and caught Morpheus. After checking, he breathed a sigh of relief when he found that the blood and energy had not completely disappeared. Father, why do you want to let Morpheus go? Alger asked puzzledly. Kill him directly, and he will lose a powerful enemy. This is the plan laid out by our ancestors. Marquis Riefno narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, he suspects that Duke William, the ancestor of the Cape clan, may be dead, but he is not sure. Alger thought about it for a while, then showed a look of surprise, and said with a sinister smile, so it turns out that Morpheus was severely injured by his ancestors, and the only one who can save him is the Duke. If Morpheus is still dead after returning, then this means that the ancestors' guess is right. Duke William has already gone to the kingdom of Lilith's ancestor. By then we will easily destroy the Cape clan. Our ancestors are still wise. Duke Riefno showed a non-committal expression and sneered, and even if the Duke takes action, he can only temporarily save Morpheus's life at most, and he will never wake up. What's ridiculous is that the other 5 families still want to sit on the mountain and watch the fight between tigers and tigers. Soon they understand what it means to have a dead lip and a cold tooth. that just as the guards were taking the dying Marquis Morpheus to Bristol City day and night, Fang Qingyan's journey to become a duke has reached the most critical moment. Li. Chapter 57. In the forbidden area of the underground palace, in the secret room, the temperature is sometimes extremely scorching, and sometimes extremely cold. Every breath Fang Qingyan took was like the deep breathing of a giant dragon. The power of qi and blood in his body has reached an unimaginable level, as vast as the sea, and rushing like the roar of a river. The process of advancing from 6 wings to a duke is the same as that of 4 wings to 6 wings. You only need to find 2 secret acupoints first, and use qi and blood to open them up so that they can complete the qi and blood circulation with the other 6 acupoints. Can step into the level of 8 wings. The duke only has 2 stages, 8 wings and 10 wings, but the difficulty of breaking through is 1,000 times greater than that of the Marquis. Rumble, Fang Qingyan is using all his strength, switching between yin and yang energy and blood, and attacking the shackles again and again. With each impact, the shackles loosened a little, but they were never able to penetrate. On the contrary, the power of qi and blood in Fang Qingyan's body gradually showed signs of decline, and he was unable to continue, but the expression on his face was surprisingly calm. Turning his left hand, another drop of Prince's essence and blood appeared, which contained terrifying life energy. Gudong, essence and blood enter throat. In an instant, it turned into surging energy and merged into the already withered qi and blood. The energy and blood suddenly roared, as excited and active as if he had been injected with chicken blood, and returned to its peak state. Rumble. The power of yang and yin crossed again and rushed towards the 2 acupoints on the left and right. Fang Qingyan felt as if his body had become a boiler, with boiling water gurgling inside, extremely hot. After taking 4 drops of the prince's essence and blood, there are still 6 drops left. If you break through the duke, it will be enough. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Finally, after taking the 9th drop of essence and blood, the power of qi and blood hit the shackles with unparalleled strength. As 2 soft clicks echoed in his mind, the 2 acupoints were finally penetrated, and the qi and blood connected the 8 acupoints, forming a cycle. Buzz. Suddenly, the ground in the entire city of Bristol trembled, and the sudden change caused many pedestrians to fall to the ground, but the earthquake came suddenly and went away quickly. It lasted less than 3 seconds and then disappeared. This makes many people wonder, what happened? Fang Qingyan took a deep breath, and the power of qi and blood around him was like wild dragons surrounding him, and his whole body was emitting red gold, blood red, and 2-color light. Behind him, 8 holy wings swayed gently, each one more than 15 meters in length, strange and gorgeous. Under every inch of skin lies the power to destroy the world. Finally broke through to the duke. But soon, Fang Qingyan suppressed this excitement, retracted his 8 holy wings, and slowly clenched his fists. Although I broke through to the 8-winged duke, I was still overwhelmed by the ancestors of the 7 major clans. They are all old monsters who have lived for hundreds of thousands of years and have already reached the level of the 10-winged duke. That he has never really fought against the 10-winged duke. Fang Qingyan didn't dare to say that he could defeat those old monsters. After reaching the level of duke, he can easily beat all the 6-winged Marquis in his normal state. Expand the 8 wings, and your strength will rise to 500 times the normal level. 1 slap could wipe Bristol City off the map, but before reaching 10 wings, we still can't wave. The superpower of space manipulation and the power of the sun in the form of Yang Yen, these are Fang Qingyan's 2 trump cards. If it doesn't come out, it will definitely shock the world. If the 2 trump cards are revealed, but it can only scare those old monsters, it is meaningless. Instead, he will be the enemy of the whole world and be killed by the joint efforts of the old monsters. I'm not yet invincible. Fang Qingyan's expression was calm and his eyes were sharp. Don't take action easily, unless you can't help it. Marquis Castle, Princess Room. Elizabeth hugged her knees and sat on the soft velvet carpet, with a dull expression on her beautiful little face. Her Royal Highness the Princess was in a daze. She didn't know why, but she had been feeling uneasy since this morning. I originally planned to go to the library to find Fang Qingyan, but he didn't go, so he just sat in the room and spent the whole day in a daze. Why hasn't father come back yet? A worried look flashed in her beautiful eyes, and her 2 little hands pinched together uneasily. Suddenly, rapid footsteps sounded. The door was pushed open. Princess. Great news. Joanna rushed in excitedly. Good news came from the front line. The orcs were defeated by us. We won. Elizabeth stood up from the ground with a smile, astonishingly beautiful. Really? Is your father coming back soon? Of course it's true. Joanna nodded firmly. Now people in the entire city of Bristol are going crazy. There are people cheering, shouting, and celebrating on every street. What about father? When will he come back? Elizabeth asked again. Whether she defeated the orcs or not, she actually didn't care. The only person she really cared about was Marquis Morpheus. She just hopes that her father can come back safely. Mr. Marquis Morpheus should be back with our family's troops. Joanna paused and added, no, it's a triumph. Elizabeth's beautiful aqua blue eyes narrowed into a crescent shape. She smiled and nodded repeatedly. That's good. Suddenly, another rapid footsteps came. A maid rushed in, her expression hurried and her voice full of panic. Your Highness, it's not good. The master of the house is back. He. It's a good thing to come back. Why are you so scared? Joanna was about to reprimand the maid for her abruptness, but suddenly realized something. Her voice stopped suddenly, and her expression became frightened. Something happened. The maid nodded repeatedly, crying and choking. Yes. Joanna was stunned, and was about to turn around and say something to the princess, but found that the person was gone. As soon as Elizabeth heard that something had happened to her father, she rushed out. She held up the hem of her skirt and ran towards her father's palace, biting her lip hard to hold back the tears. Bang! There was a loud noise, and the door to the Marquis's palace was violently pushed open. There were many people inside, gathered around a coffin, all with gloomy expressions and very ugly faces. Your Highness the Princess. Seeing Elizabeth's arrival, a group of guards saluted respectfully. How is my father? She asked crisply, running inside. A zero-wing marquis from the family stretched out his hand to stop her, and shook his head at Elizabeth. Your Highness, it's better not to look at it. I have already sent people to the forbidden area to invite the ancestors. The master of the family will be fine. Get out of the way. Elizabeth's little face flushed with anger, her eyebrows stood up, and her voice was cold. This is an order. Hearing this, the other party could only sigh and walk to the edge. She took a deep breath, overcame her inner fear, took the first step with trembling calves, then quickened her pace and rushed to the coffin. When she saw the scene in the coffin, Elizabeth was stunned. Tears burst out from her eyes and she cried bitterly. In the coffin, a charred man lay inside. He was as skinny as firewood, his skin and flesh fell off, revealing his dense white bones. Thousands of tiny thunderbolts were faintly visible, wandering around in his body like earthworms, and making hissing-chissing sounds at the same time. The sound corrodes the flesh and blood. Lifeless, and dying. Elizabeth suddenly felt like the sky was falling. Is this still her father? Isn't her father a fat man who weighs 800 pounds? P.S. Please order in full. Chapter 58. A full 5 minutes passed. Elizabeth reluctantly accepted this fact. Her eyes were red, but she had stopped crying. After taking a deep breath, she ordered in a trembling voice, tell me the whole thing. Everyone, you look at me and I look at you. After looking at each other for a while, someone finally sighed and told the whole story. After hearing this, Elizabeth looked shocked. Why did Uncle Alves fight with his father? They are the best brothers. And, since my father is the winner, who caused him to do this? Here the princess questioned. Everyone's expressions instantly turned gloomy, and their eyes were filled with anger. It's Duke Adolphe Riefno of the Riefno clan. He murdered the head of the family. This group of shameless and insidious villains can do whatever they want with the support of the Duke. The ancestors must be asked to come out of seclusion and seek justice. We can't just let this matter go. Even if we start a holy war, we must avenge the head of the family. Yes. Please ask our ancestors to come out of seclusion and start a war with the Riefno clan. For a time, the crowd was furious. 26.1 Can imagine how frustrated everyone felt when they came all the way back. The head of his family was beaten like this, but he could only run back with his tail between his legs. Because everyone knows that once they take action, none of them can come back. Elizabeth heard everyone's words and vowed to take revenge. She gritted her silver teeth and suddenly became angry. She scolded, "Stop talking. Revenge? What to repay? There are only 2 in the Cape clan. The 6-winged Marquis is dead and useless, and our ancestors have not left seclusion. Are you going to die now?" This may be the first time she has yelled at someone with such a loud voice since she was a child, but Elizabeth subconsciously felt that Uncle Alves was dead, her father had fallen, and her ancestors refused to come out. In this kind of family facing a critical moment of life and death, as the future heir of the family, she must do something. It was also the first time that everyone felt something called majesty from Her Highness the Princess. This innocent and simple little princess has also learned to yell at others. "Your Highness, what should we do next?" Next to him, a 0-wing Marquis asked respectfully, "What to do? I don't know what to do. I can only read novels, but romance novels never taught me how to deal with this kind of thing." Her mind was in turmoil, but Elizabeth knew that she had to pretend to be calm and decisive. Now is the time when the clan members are at their lowest morale, most depressed, most shaken, darkest and most desperate. If she still only cries, the hearts of the Cape clan will fall apart. "Call." Elizabeth took a deep breath, raised her beautiful eyes, calmed down, and asked the 0-wing Marquis next to her in a calm voice, "Is the ancestor not out of seclusion yet?" The Marquis shook his head, no response, still in retreat. Elizabeth looked at her dying father in the coffin, then gritted her teeth and said solemnly, "I will personally go to my ancestors to beg you, my father won't last long." Clan Ravner, Marquis Castle, many people gathered in the palace. In addition to the head of the family, Angus, and his son Alger, there were also 3 marquises, 1 with 6 wings and 2 with 4 wings, the rest are all experts at the peak of the count. All the top combat power of the Riefno clan is here. With so many elites gathered together, it was obvious that they were ready to take action at any time. "How is the situation with the Cape clan?" Angus asked suddenly. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As we expected, the people of the Cape clan rushed back as quickly as possible with the dying Marquis Morpheus, hoping to ask the Duke's ancestor to come out for treatment. The person below responded respectfully, but no news has been released yet. They have sealed off the entire castle, and the undercover we put in doesn't know the specific situation. Waste. Angus cursed angrily and crushed the armrest of the seat into powder with his right hand. He thought gloomily for a while, then showed a sneer and said, "In that case, let's go ahead openly." Arnold. Exist. The 6-winged Marquis immediately knelt down on one knee and said in a loud voice, "Master, please give me your orders." His name is Arnold Riefnor, and he is Angus's biological brother. "Take a few people with you and go to the Cape clan in the name of visiting a doctor." Angus Gia said with a strange smile, "Let's see if their ancestor, the Duke, climbed out of his coffin. But the head of the family, they will definitely obstruct us and won't let us approach the palace easily." Arnold hesitated and said, Angus snorted coldly, with a ferocious look in his eyes, and said grimly, "That means they are guilty. The more they refuse to let them see, the more guilty they are. The time is coming soon. Our ancestors are very heavy-handed, and Morpheus will definitely can't survive tonight." He Arnold said with a sinister smile, "Then I will wait until night and lead my men to break in. There are no other 6-winged marquises in the Cape clan, so they can't stop me." He stood up, glanced at him, called a few vampires from the top count, and then left the palace, without any gifts, and went to the Cape clan to visit the sick empty-handed. "Let's set off too and let the army stand by at the border of the Cape clan's territory." Angus looked at the other people with a crazy and violent expression. As soon as Arnold confirms the news of Duke William's death, he will directly lead an army to attack the Cape clan. Massacre the city. As you command. Clan Capet, Bristol, the Marquis' castle, the forbidden area of the underground palace. Ancestor, please save my father. Elizabeth knelt outside the stone door of the secret room, her beautiful little face covered with tears, and begged, "Father is dying." Inside the secret room, the corners of Fang Qingyan's mouth twitched, He had just adapted to the realm of the eight-winged Duke and was about to teleport back to the library when Elizabeth came. After a slight hesitation, Fang Qingyan's eyes flashed with purple light, and he used mind-reading skills on Elizabeth, who was kneeling outside the door. In an instant, I understood the whole story. Alves died. Marquis Morpheus is also dying, waiting for his ancestor to come out and save his life. That's why Elizabeth came to the forbidden place in person to ask for an audience. The problem is that your ancestors have died a long time ago. The Riifno clan has bared its fangs and made it clear that it wants to mess with your Cape clan. Now the Capet clan, not to mention the Duke, is so poor that they can't even afford a six-winged marquis. You are finished. Ancestor, please save my father. Elizabeth was still pleading. Fang Qingyan was also going crazy. Stop shouting, I really am not your ancestor. But Elizabeth was weeping so much that he was in a state of inner struggle. Taking action to save Marquis Morpheus meant that he could no longer live in peace, but he is not yet 10 wings, he is not invincible yet, and he has no intention of going out. Moreover, this is clearly a trap by the Cape clan, otherwise why let Marquis Morpheus come back alive? Just at this moment, someone ran in a panic to report. Your Highness, something is wrong. People from the Riifno clan are trying to force their way into the head of the family's palace. What? Elizabeth quickly stood up from the ground, glanced at the closed stone door in despair, pursed her lips, and then turned around and hurried back. The empty underground palace fell into deathly silence again, with only candles swaying left and right. Oh, that's all. Fang Qingyan looked at the pitiful look in her eyes before she left, and immediately sighed. I'll take action just this once. P.S. Please order in full. Chapter 59. Rumble. A huge roar exploded. The gate of the inner fort, which was more than 10 meters high, was blasted open. Ha 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 ha. Arnold looked arrogant and contemptuous, and laughed. We are here to visit the sick, and we have good intentions. How can you turn us away? Presumptuous. A loud shout containing anger sounded. Immediately afterwards, several whizzing sounds broke through the air, and 2 old men in purple robes flew in with 6 or 7 people. Among them, there is a 4-winged marquis, a 2-winged marquis, a 0-winged marquis, and the rest are all blood races of earls and below. This is already the highest combat power the Cape clan has ever produced. You damn bastards! Stop it! How dare you come here after the family leader was harmed like that? This is really too much bullying. Get out of here. When our ancestors come out of seclusion, we will come to settle the score with you. Everyone in the Cape clan glared and cursed. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Elizabeth hurried over in a hurry and saw the broken door on the ground and the arrogance and domineering look on the faces of the people of the Riifno clan. Her beautiful little face suddenly turned red with anger. Just as she was about to step forward, she was stopped by Joanna. Joanna said with a gloomy face, Your Highness, they come with bad intentions, please leave first. They were all bullied to come to our house. Elizabeth wanted to say, I have to blast them away, but her voice stopped abruptly. Loss and grievance filled her aqua blue eyes. She was just a viscount, what a blast. Shout with your voice. Ever since she was a child, she had been placed in the greenhouse by Marquis Morpheus, and she had never suffered any injustice, but now, he is being bullied right at his doorstep. Her nose twitched, she resisted the urge to cry, and the look in her beautiful eyes became determined. Joanna, her voice suddenly became extremely cold, and she ordered in a tone that could not be refused, gather all the people in the castle who can fight to stop them. Even if you die, you cannot let them get close to my father's palace. Princess. Joanna was stunned. She has been with Elizabeth for more than 20 years, but she has never seen Elizabeth look so tough. She couldn't believe that such an order came from the innocent princess. Seeing that she was stunned, Elizabeth's eyes became sharper and her tone became more serious. What are you dawdling about? Did you hear my princess's order? Joanna came back to her senses, with an excited and happy look on her face. She quickly plopped down on her knees and said in the most respectful tone, I obey. Without hesitation, her body flew away. While flying, Joanna's tears couldn't stop flowing, but a happy smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Your Highness the princess has finally grown up. She began to gradually realize her mission as a royal heir. In this way, there is still hope for the Cape clan. He, don't be so nervous. Arnold looked at the group of people in front of him with a look of disdain in his eyes. We are really here to visit the Marquis. We just take a look and then leave. There will be no ink. Get the fuck out of here. That the four-winged Marquis opened his eyes angrily and cursed loudly. You still want to take a look? Can't you take a look at the feces I pooped last night? If you know what's going on, get out of here. Otherwise, you will all die when our ancestor comes out of seclusion, someone said from the side, threatening Arnold and his group. Ha 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 ha. Arnold stopped acting, laughed wildly, and said jokingly, Ancestor. You should let him out. Let me guess, is your ancestor just ignoring you? No matter how hard you beg, he didn't even respond. Everyone's expressions changed. How did he know? Seeing the changes in the expressions on their faces, Arnold was immediately more certain that Duke William was dead, and he no longer had any scruples. With a few hisses, he directly unfolded the 6 holy wings on his back. To tell you the truth, your ancestor, Duke William Capet, is dead. Arnold grinned ferociously and laughed wildly. Your Cape clan will become the 3rd royal clan to be destroyed. He punched out casually. Rumble. The 6-winged Marquis' terrifying energy and blood force was suppressed like an overwhelming force. Puff puff puff. For a moment, everyone vomited blood and their bodies were thrown away. A few low-level guards exploded and died. Blood filled the sky, and their limbs and arms fell off. Asshole. Several marquises became furious and also transformed into holy wing mode and rushed towards Arnold. Ha ha ha, just you ants. Arnold laughed and clapped his hands, bang bang bang. The 3 marquises were all knocked into the air, with blood scattered along the way, and then hit the ground heavily. Kill. From a distance, Joanna flew over with hundreds of people, including counts, viscounts, and even the weakest baron, joined the fight. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, even if they attacked together, they were no match for the 6-winged Marquis, not to mention that Arnold brought several powerful men at the peak of the Earl level. They were beaten by Arnold and his men in a few minutes and could not get up again. Ah, an old man roared unwillingly, tears streaming down his face, Ancestor. Can't you see? Have you really gone to the kingdom of Lilith's ancestor god? Woo 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 Ancestor, please come out of retreat. The Capet clan is going to die. The clan members cried and wailed, and all of them were desperate. The head of the family was seriously injured and dying, but the ancestor did not come out of retreat. The princess went to beg in person, but the ancestor did not come out of retreat. Now that they have been bullied to the doorstep, the ancestor still did not come out of retreat. Even they believed what Arnold said. Duke William was dead. For a moment, everyone was desperate. Elizabeth's pretty face turned pale, and she sat on the ground weakly. She suddenly remembered something, and a handsome face with a warm smile appeared in her mind. Maybe, we are all going to die today. It's a pity that I will never have the chance to say that to you again. I actually like you. Ha ha ha. Arnold walked in with his men step by step and headed towards the bedroom. It's sad that the Duke is really dead. William Capet is just like that. As soon as the voice fell, suddenly, a terrifying breath like the power of heaven suddenly fell from the sky. The power of this breath cannot be described in words, but everyone who was enveloped by the breath had the same idea in their hearts. I am just an ant. Zhao Maheo. Humph. Can you call my name directly? The old voice exploded in everyone's ears like thunder, and the eardrums hurt. Then, the space 1,000 meters ahead shook like a ripple, and an old man in a gorgeous golden robe slowly walked out. The old man walked out of the void, with an invincible and terrifying aura, like a peerless god of war. He took a step forward, crossed the space, and appeared above everyone's head. His wrinkled eyes cast a sharp gaze that seemed to be able to see through gold and stone, and looked at Arnold. His voice was extremely calm. How do you want to die? P.S. I have a fever this morning. Wrote 4 chapters and posted them, and posted 4 more chapters. The author has actually written nearly 20,000 words today. The fever just subsided, and I was dizzy for a day. Please understand, I will try to write 10 chapters every day in the future. I didn't expect that I had a physical accident on the day of the release. Sorry, Chapter 60. Ancestor. Elizabeth stood up, the dejection and despair on her face were swept away, and a dazzling light bloomed in her beautiful blue eyes, although no one in the entire Capet clan, except Marquis Morpheus, has really seen the Ancestor in person. But no one does not know what the Ancestor looks like. Because William Capet's face is clearly printed on the gold, silver, and copper coins issued by the Capet clan. If you have ever owned a copper coin issued by the Capet clan, you can't fail to recognize this Duke Ancestor. For a moment, everyone was excited and the bad luck was swept away. Ha 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 ha. Laugh, keep laughing. Are you dumbfounded? Our Ancestor is alive and well. Can't laugh anymore. Didn't you laugh happily just now? After calming down their inner excitement and shock, all the people in the Capet clan immediately cast their eyes at Arnold and his group, and all kinds of ridicule, sneer, and ridicule were thrown at them. You are still alive. Arnold's face was pale, he was so scared that his heart and gall were about to burst, his eyes were full of fear, and he screamed hysterically, impossible. If you are still alive, why don't you participate in the war with Orc 743? Why didn't you treat Morpheus for so long? Why did you show up at this time? Fake, all fake. This is impossible. The kid was scared crazy and started talking nonsense. Not only him, but the other earls were also scared to wet their pants and trembled like sieves, but in fact, the William Capet in front of everyone was really fake. Fang Qingyan used the Qianji mask to transform himself into the Ancestor of the Capet clan. In this way, after this move, he can use his original identity and continue to live a peaceful and low-key life. I just took a nap. I can smell the fear coming from you. The old man chuckled and said lightly, well, since you are reluctant to choose a way to die, I will help you choose. Fang Qingyan did not take action right away. He just wanted to use mind reading to check their memories. He already knew everything he wanted to know. There was no need to waste time with such ants. Snap. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Bang 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 bang. In an instant, a group of people exploded and broke into countless pieces. Blood mist rose up and body parts fell one after another. With another gentle wave of his hand, a scorching wind blew, and the blood and bodies turned into ashes. Not a trace was left. Killed people and scattered ashes. Fang Qingyan stood upright with his hands behind his back. He slowly turned his head to look at the group of people from the Capet clan. His eyes finally fixed on Elizabeth's face, which was sharp, deep and distant, as if he saw the end of time at a glance. Elizabeth took a deep breath, and the long eyelashes above her beautiful eyes trembled slightly, indicating that she was very nervous. No one could remain calm when being watched by a duke, right? But she thought of her father who was struck by lightning and became a thin man in the coffin. Suddenly, the look in her water-blue eyes became firm. Elizabeth gently lifted the hem of her skirt, knelt on her knees, and her expression was full of respect. Her clear and pleasant voice trembled slightly. The first-generation head of the Capet clan, the heir, Elizabeth, respectfully welcomed the Ancestor out of seclusion. Bang. Hundreds of clansmen behind her, both direct and collateral, all knelt heavily on the ground at this moment, making a very neat muffled sound. Then, there was a rumbling shout. Welcome the Ancestors out of the pass. Welcome the Ancestors out of the pass. Welcome the Ancestors out of the pass. The sound was so loud that even the earth was shaking slightly. It made Fang Qingyan's eardrums rumble, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and this scene made him want to run away. I'm really not your ancestor. Why are you shouting so loudly? Are you afraid that I can't hear it? Looking at the excitement in each of their eyes and the tears on their faces, Fang Qingyan sighed in his heart. There is no need. There is really no need. The border of the Capet clan, the border with the Ravno clan, thousands of troops were neatly formed into dozens of square formations, and the solemn and murderous atmosphere was so heavy that it was suffocating. Asshole. Aw. Damn asshole. Suddenly, a crazy roar sounded, and the face of Marquis Angus of Ravno was distorted. his fangs bared, and his hair stood up in anger. Arnold. Just now, from the direction of Bristol City, a terrifying Duke-level pressure rose to the sky. People thousands of miles away can feel the power, dominance and indifference of that breath. There is no doubt that it must be the Duke of the Capet clan, who came out of seclusion, and was furious. Damn it, damn it. Angus's expression was ferocious. How could he still be alive? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm already 90% sure that William Capet is dead. Why is this happening? If he had known earlier, he would not have let Arnold go to visit the patient, a six-winged marquis, so arrogantly went to someone's house and did whatever he wanted, and then the other side's Duke appeared. No need to think too much, Arnold must be dead. Angus couldn't understand why he kept pretending to be dead since he was still alive. He sent his brother Arnold because he was very sure, but he didn't expect to kill his brother. Angus looked forward with resentment, and there was an impulse in his heart, that is, no longer hiding his strength, and directly leading the army to kill and avenge his brother. However, at this moment, the voice of the ancestor Duke Adolf sounded in his mind. Come back, Angus, it's not time to be exposed yet. This is the ability of telepathy, which can transmit sound through mental power. Angus gritted his teeth and was very unwilling, but ancestor. Don't say but. I ask you, is it more important to destroy a Capet clan to avenge Arnold, or to wipe out the 6 major families and unify the country? Don't lose the big picture for the small. It's too early to show our trump card now. Come back. Adolf emphasized his tone, and his voice could not be refused. Yes. Ancestor. Marquis Angus gritted his teeth. He suppressed the rage and viciousness in his heart, turned back and roared, retreat. The army retreated and left the border. Grandfather, my father is dying. Elizabeth's big eyes flickered, tears were in her eyes, and the tears on her delicate little face had dried. She looked at Fang Qingyan with hope and begged, please save him, he really can't die. Fang Qingyan nodded and said calmly, since I'm out, I will definitely save him. Let's go. Elizabeth was surprised and got up quickly to lead the way. Since the ancestor is willing to help, then my father must be saved. She was extremely happy in her heart. However, Fang Qingyan's eyes were complicated. He will do his best, but whether he can be saved depends on God's will. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. P.S. Please support, Chapter 61. Crunch. When I opened the door, a fishy, burnt smell hit my face, which was very unpleasant. Ancestor, my father is in the coffin, please see how he is doing. Elizabeth begged anxiously. Fang Qingyan gave a faint and nodded noncommittally, then he flashed and appeared beside the coffin. His wrinkled eyes looked at the mummy-like Duke Morpheus inside, and his mental power enveloped his body. The detection was completed soon, then he frowned. Duke Adolf was too cruel. The overbearing power of thunder greatly destroyed Morpheus's energy and blood, and had severely damaged his origin. Moreover, the remaining power of thunder continues to erode little by little. These tiny thunderbolts are thousands and thousands, densely packed, like tarsal maggots wrapped around Morpheus, making it difficult to remove. Once the power of thunder is removed, the last remaining vitality and blood of Morpheus will inevitably be extracted, and he will definitely die. So the problem is difficult. Fang Qingyan was also a little speechless. How could Elizabeth, the 2 old fathers, be more miserable than the other? Morpheus's injury was even more serious than Carstein's. How's it going? Ancestor. Elizabeth pursed her lips and looked at Fang Qingyan expectantly. His eyes flashed slightly, and he suddenly said calmly, go and wait outside. Don't let anyone in. When Elizabeth heard this, she did not hesitate and nodded quickly. Old ancestor. In the hearts of the people of the Cape clan, their ancestors are omnipotent gods. They all believed that once their ancestors took action, they would be able to save Duke Morpheus. Elizabeth left and closed the door behind her. Light surged in Fang Qingyan's eyes. Suddenly, the space around the palace shook slightly, and it had been blocked, cutting off all spiritual power. Only then did he look at the half-dead Morpheus in the coffin again. I know everything. I have a certain responsibility for the Cape clan to become like this. Fang Qingyan said lightly, I know you didn't kill Jason Riefno, because I did it. Although even if there was no such grudge, the Riethno family would still show their ambition to dominate the country and attack the 6 major clans, but then again, it was precisely because of this grudge that the Cape clan became the first target. Elizabeth has lost her mother since she was a child. I can't save her biological father, Castain, but I will find a way to save you. After Fang Qingyan finished speaking, he turned his right hand over and a drop of crimson blood appeared in his palm. As soon as Fang appeared, the air in the entire room became oppressive and heavy. There was extremely violent life energy in the essence and blood, as if it was alive, struggling crazily, trying to escape from Fang Qingyan's control. Fang Qingyan squeezed it expressionlessly, and a small drop of blood turned into a river of blood as thick as a bucket, which rushed into the coffin and penetrated into Morpheus's body. In an instant, thousands of small thunder snakes seemed to be under a fatal threat. They all went crazy and began to ferociously devour, erode, and consume their energy and blood. However, how terrifying is the energy of a drop of Prince's blood. Morpheus's vitality and blood were nourished, and instantly grew hundreds of times stronger. He roared like a wild dragon and launched a counterattack, entangled with the thunder snake, and the two fought crazily. You should be able to resist the power of thunder now. Fang Qingyan narrowed his eyes and struck out suddenly, spreading his fingers, and then tightly closed them. The power of qi and blood shot out from between his fingers, turning into countless red threads and drilling into Castain's body. Each thread was entangled with a small thunder snake. Then, he pulled it out very decisively. Chi chi chi. In an instant, all the thunder power was pulled out by the red thread and left Morpheus's body. At the same time, a large amount of energy and blood were also pulled out together. Without the prince's essence and blood, Morpheus's weak body would not be able to withstand such a torment. These thunderbolts seem to have their own consciousness, and they want to continue to get back into Morpheus's body and wreak havoc. Snort. Fang Qingyan's eyes were cold, he snorted coldly, waved his hand gently, and the thunder was instantly extinguished like a candle. Castain's qi and blood were eroded by Medusa's poison, and removing the poison would also destroy his qi and blood, so Fang Qingyan could only watch him die, but now he is not the 0-winged Marquis, but the 8-winged Duke. A painful hesitation. Marquis Morpheus opened his eyes weakly, and his consciousness gradually became clear from blur. When he saw clearly the old man in golden robes standing in front of him, his bloody face showed an expression of extreme excitement. Old Ancestor. Fang Qingyan nodded. Your energy and blood are too weak now, and you can't heal yourself, so just lie down first. Tears suddenly welled up on Marquis Morpheus's scorched face, and his voice was trembling and choked. You are still here, you have not abandoned us. Fang Qingyan looked at him indifferently, thinking that he was no longer here. I just worked for your ancestors for a day, ask for flowers. After getting excited, Morpheus seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly his face became extremely ugly, and he looked at Fang Qingyan. Old Ancestor, you saved me? No. You shouldn't have saved me. This is Riethno the clan's conspiracy, they just want to use me as bait. Once you save me, you will lose a lot of energy and vitality, and they will still invade our Cape clan. Fang Qingyan was speechless when he saw how excited he was. What he used was not his own energy and blood, but the prince's essence and blood obtained by signing in. You don't have to worry about this anymore, just take care of yourself. Fang Qingyan looked at him and said calmly, although I have temporarily eliminated the power of thunder in your body, the source has been damaged after all, and you are already a disabled person. Your energy and blood have lost their self-healing function, and your mental energy has been exhausted. As expected, you only have a few more years to live. And indeed it is. Morpheus was originally a mortal man, and Adolphe had no intention of letting him really live. Even if Duke William Capet is still alive, he can only survive like a vegetative state for a few years at most. My body, I know. Morpheus heard that he would not live for a few more years, but his face did not show much sadness and fear, but more of a faint worry. As the head of the family, what I am actually afraid of is not my own death, but my death. What will this family do next? Fang Qingyan looked at him, was silent for 2 seconds, and then said, I have a way to give you a few more years of life. The method our ancestors called is very costly, right? Fang Qingyan said nothing. The price is of course high. Using the prince's essence and blood to renew your life is something that even the 7 dukes will not be able to enjoy. Morpheus smiled and shook his head. No. I have lived for tens of thousands of years. Living a few more years and a few less years means nothing to me. As he said that, his eyes became determined and he looked at Fang Qingyan. Ancestor, the Cape clan cannot live without its head. Elizabeth will inherit my will sooner or later, but she is immature now and the holy war is about to begin. She must become one as soon as possible. A qualified family leader. She can't really grow up until I die. Just like an eagle, it can never learn to fly until it leaves the arms of its parents. Let her daughter grow up and face the difficult and dangerous journey of life alone. This is a father's choice. P.S. Please support. Force, Chapter 62. But have you ever thought about how much Elizabeth would be devastated if you died? Fang Qingyan glanced at him and said lightly, Camilla's death left a big shadow in her heart. You have become her only support and hope. If you use this method to force her to grow, it may only be counterproductive. When Morpheus heard this, there was a trace of heartache and unbearability in his eyes, but he finally gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, there is no time for her to grow up slowly. The Cape clan needs her. She can't be a living person forever. The innocent princess in the love story, she must become a real queen. Ancestor, this is my choice, please respect me. He looked at Fang Qingyan with pleading eyes. Fang Qingyan was silent. He could feel Morpheus's deep love for Elizabeth, and he could also feel a father's good intentions for his daughter. Morpheus, as a father, is much more qualified than Castain. He just doesn't know. Does he know that Elizabeth is not his biological child? Fang Qingyan didn't intend to use mind reading to pry into his privacy. It doesn't matter whether you know it or not, a mountain of fatherly love is right in front of you, and there will be no fraud. Since it's your choice, fine, I respect you. Fang Qingyan put his hands behind his back and looked calmly, but remember, without blood to extend your life, you can survive for up to 3 years. Marquis Morpheus nodded and said solemnly, I will make good use of these 3 years. Thank you, Ancestor. Crunch, the door opens. Fang Qingyan pushed open the door and walked out. Elizabeth, who had been waiting anxiously outside the door for a long time, quickly walked up and asked, Ancestor, is my father okay? The rest of the tribesmen had expectations and nervousness on their faces, waiting for the ancestor's answer. Fang Qingyan nodded, go in. Everyone immediately burst into laughter, and Elizabeth rushed in with a whoosh, a happy and bright smile on her face. Fang Qingyan sighed in his heart. The space was distorted. He teleported back to the library and the room on the 2nd floor. The skeletal muscles of the body made a crackling sound, and the skin and flesh on the face were also squirming rapidly. A second later, he was no longer an old man and had returned to his own self. The Riefno clan will not give up. Fang Qingyan murmured softly, his eyes flashing, dare to have the ambition to sweep the 6 major clans. It shows that the Riefno clan is not simple and has a strong trump card. I have to prepare early. Point 10 Wings. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. We must break through the 10 wings as soon as possible. Before that, no matter what tricks the Riefno clan played, they had to deal with it perfectly. All in all, there are 2 words, forbearance. When there is no other choice, Fang Qingyan will take Elizabeth away to the end of the world. The range of his space superpower now reaches 100 kilometers. Within 100 miles, you can arrive at a thought. If he really wanted to run away, he wouldn't be able to catch up with Adolf's 8 legs. System, I want to sign in. Ding. The sign-in is successful. Congratulations to the host for getting Prince Essence and Blood X1. A glistening drop of the prince's blood appeared in his hand. The corners of Fang Qingyan's mouth curled up slightly. Sure enough, after breaking through to the Duke, the probability of signing in to obtain the prince's blood essence also became much greater. Fang Qingyan teleported directly inside the coffin without opening the lid, lay down and drank the prince's essence and blood. Then he began the familiar practice of meditation. Duke William, Duke Brooke, and Duke Adolf all took tens of thousands of years to break through from 8 wings to 10 wings. it is completely pure water grinding work, accumulated bit by bit over a long period of time, slowly polishing the qi and blood, but Fang Qingyan continued to obtain the prince's essence and blood. Every drop of the prince's essence and blood is worth thousands of years of hard work. Once people find out, Adolf and the others will definitely be jealous and go crazy with envy. Therefore, Fang Qingyan must not expose his true identity until he becomes invincible. The master's bedroom. Elizabeth's beautiful eyes were red and swollen, but her face was filled with a happy smile. She knelt on the edge of the coffin and looked at her father. "Elizabeth, I have something to say to you." Marquis Morpheus looked at her deeply. "Say it, I'm listening." Elizabeth's smile remained the same. Her father was still alive, and the tension, despair, confusion, and fear she had felt these days were all gone. "I'm useless," Marquis Morpheus said in a deep voice. "With the loss of 6 holy wings, I no longer have the qualifications and ability to continue to serve as the head of the Cape clan." Elizabeth frowned slightly and said dissatisfiedly, "Don't think nonsense, you will get better soon. And even if you lose your strength, you will always be the head of the family. Everyone agrees on this, and everyone will respect you as before." Alas! Hearing such innocent words coming from his daughter's mouth, Morpheus couldn't help but sigh. In a world where strength is respected, losing strength means losing dignity. Elizabeth has not yet truly understood the cruelty of this world. "Elizabeth, remember my words." Morpheus suddenly became serious. "In this world, no one can be your eternal support, not the sky, the earth, or your parents. The only thing you can rely on is your hard fist and your strong will." As he said that, he suddenly became excited. He tightly grasped his daughter's arm with his withered hands. His eyes were terrifying and his voice was urgent. "Remember. Identity and status are obtained by strength. Without strength, you will be trampled and ravaged by the strong. Bullying, insult, understand." Fear arose in Elizabeth's heart, and tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. She didn't know why her father, who had always been gentle and protective of her, suddenly became so serious and terrifying. Her arms were pinched so hard that she felt aggrieved on her beautiful little face. "Father, I understand." Only then did Marquis Morpheus come to his senses and quickly let go of his hand. "I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I was too excited just now." Elizabeth shook her head, her red lips pursed slightly, and a frustrated look appeared in her aqua-blue eyes. "Father, I'm not stupid. I know you want to hand over the position of head of the family to me. But I really can't do it. I can't do anything and can't do anything." That she remembered today, when Arnold and his friends came to the door, he was so flustered, frightened, fearful, and helpless that he immediately felt like a waste. Others can still fight and fight the enemy desperately, she can't even fight. "I can't be like you, father, who kills decisively and stays calm in times of crisis. You can shoulder the burden of the family and carry the hopes of the people. I can't." Elizabeth's expression darkened. Other heirs have lived for thousands or tens of thousands of years before they became qualified family heads, but she is only in her 20s. "It's okay, just take your time." Morpheus smiled and comforted his daughter. His eyes flickered slightly, not knowing what he was thinking. The Riefno clan, the forbidden area of the underground palace, in the magnificent and huge secret room. "Ancestor, what should we do? Should we continue with the original plan and attack the Cape clan? Or should we change the target?" Angus knelt down on one knee, stared at the ancient coffin in front of him, and asked. Adolf's voice came from the coffin. "We still have a chance, so we don't have to change plans in a hurry. When Duke William comes out of seclusion, he will definitely find a way to save Morpheus. The power of thunder I planted in him is very difficult to deal with. Even if it is successfully eliminated, a huge amount of Duke-level blood essence will be consumed to save Morpheus' life." Angus's eyes lit up. "What our ancestors mean is, if he is really willing to waste his essence and blood, he must be in a very weak stage now, and his strength is not as strong as the 7th level in his heyday. I am absolutely sure to kill him." There was a loud bang, the coffin lid flew up and hit the ground hard. Adolf, whose aura was extremely terrifying, slowly flew up, like a demon coming to the world. there was no emotion on his old and wrinkled face, and his voice was cold. I will personally go to the Cape Clan to test his condition first. If he does not fall into a period of weakness, I will come back and change his position again. Well, after all, old guy William is not easy to mess with. Crackling, suddenly, Adolf turned into a red-white thunder and disappeared in the secret room instantly. P.S. If you think there is something wrong with the writing, please leave a message in the comment area. As long as it is not malicious abuse, Xiaopuji will seriously reflect on it and modify it as appropriate. Chapter 63. Marquis Castle, second floor room, in the coffin, boom, 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 there were waves of low, strange noises, one after another, never stopping. This is the sound of qi and blood rushing through the body. After every drop of essence and blood is dissolved, it can fill a small pond. This is the eight-winged duke. Fang Qingyan opened his eyes, and the power of qi and blood in his body gradually became dormant and calmed down. After refining a drop of the prince's essence and blood, the power of qi and blood has grown a lot, but it is still far away from the level of shi. He made a rough estimate and found that he would need at least dozens of drops of the prince's essence and blood to reach the 10 wings in one breath. And considering the cost of failing to advance, Fang Qingyan decided to reserve more. He would never try it easily without being completely sure. Crunch. He pushed open the coffin lid and walked out. I stood in front of the window, soaking in the sunshine and looking at the bright sky outside. Suddenly I heard movement. Someone ran up the stairs, seemingly anxious. Bang! Elizabeth opened the door suddenly, and there were 6 or 7 large and small packages hanging on her body, which completely engulfed her whole body. She looked funny and cute at the same time. After seeing Fang Qingyan, she breathed a sigh of relief and put down a lot of things. Your Highness Princess, what are you? Fang Qingyan's eyes widened. What? No time to explain. Elizabeth walked quickly to Fang Qingyan, pulled his sleeve, and said seriously with a serious expression on her beautiful face, let's go. Fang Qingyan's mouth twitched. Where to go? What are these other things? 26. I've prepared clothes, gold coins, and some essential items for you. Elizabeth took a deep breath, pursed her lips, and looked directly at Fang Qingyan. Bristol City is no longer safe. We are being targeted by the Riefno clan, and a holy war is very likely to break out. You are so weak. Once affected by the battle, he will definitely die. You came to my place just to make me leave, right? Fang Qingyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You are just a servant trying to make a living. There is no need to fight for our Cape clan, haven't you noticed? Many servants and attendants have quietly packed up and fled. Jihad is terrifying. Elizabeth's beautiful eyes were solemn, and her voice was full of concern. I can't let you get involved. She would rather stay and live and die with the Cape clan, but Fang Qingyan was innocent, and she felt she couldn't let him stay here. Maybe the Riefno clan will start a war tonight, so we can't hesitate any longer and have to let him leave first. You let me go, but you won't? Fang Qingyan looked directly into her eyes and asked in a calm voice. How can I leave? If we leave together, then, wouldn't that be an elopement? Elizabeth's pretty face turned red, and when she mentioned the word elope, she sounded like a mosquito. Fang Qingyan smiled and shook his head. I'd better stay. Although I'm just a weak baron, you will protect me, right? Your Royal Highness. She was stunned for a moment, and then her expression hesitated. She has been protected by others since she was a child, and Duke Morpheus has protected his people. Now that my father has fallen, the tribe needs a king who can stand up and carry the banner. Elizabeth gritted her teeth, nodded heavily, and said to Fang Qingyan extremely seriously, okay, I will protect you, don't be afraid. Fang Qingyan narrowed his eyes. Thank you, Your Highness, Princess, I won't be afraid. The two were planning to continue chatting for a while. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Suddenly, a terrifying aura descended like the might of heaven. At the same time, an old and extremely oppressive voice resounded throughout the sky of Bristol City. William, come out and see. This voice was extremely terrifying, like thunder rolling in. Millions of people living in Bristol City suddenly felt their heads rumbling, their eardrums aching, and a sense of fear rising from their hearts. It's the Duke. The Duke of the Ravno clan is here. Oh my God! Is the holy war about to begin? It's too scary. For a moment, the people of the whole city were panicked and uneasy. Everyone looked at the terrifying figure standing proudly in the sky with awe and fear. The Duke could wipe out the entire city of Bristol, along with millions of people, from the world with just a slap. Elizabeth's face changed, and she said to Fang Qingyan in a panic, "I'm leaving first, don't run around." After that, she left the room. Fang Qingyan watched her go, and her figure disappeared. Then he looked out the window. Is the trouble coming so soon? He sighed slowly. His bones began to make a sound like frying beans, the muscles on his face moved, and his figure changed rapidly. Adolf stood in the void with his hands behind his back. His eyes were full of indifference and coldness. Although it was normal and he did not show the 10 holy wings, his aura was still extremely terrifying. Even the soul would tremble with fear from a distance. Deep in the city of Bristol, 10 miles away, the space was distorted, and an old man in a golden robe walked out slowly. His calm eyes crossed the space and locked onto Adolf. William. Adolf narrowed his eyes, and doubts arose in his heart, because he could not feel any blood and chi from Duke William. He was like a stone, a dead wood without vitality, a grain of dust. What's going on? Adolf resisted the urge to take action, and doubts arose. The purpose of his coming here was to test the state of Duke William. Whether he was good or bad, he could sense it by just looking from a distance, but the Qianji mask concealed all of Fang Qingyan's aura, making him confused for a while. The space was distorted again. Fang Qingyan took a step forward and crossed the 10-mile sky and appeared in front of Adolf. Adolf's pupils shrank violently. After 1,000 years of seclusion, this old guy didn't seem to have gained nothing. Is this the ability of space teleportation? Humph. Adolf, I didn't go to find you, but you came to me first. Fang Qingyan snorted coldly. His expression was gloomy and cruel, and his voice was full of anger and murderous intent. What are you doing here? The momentum was very strong. However, Fang Qingyan was actually beating his drum in his heart. If he really took action, he would have to spread his holy wings. Then when the 8 holy wings were revealed, everyone would know that their ancestor was a fake. Fang Qingyan really didn't want to fight him, but he couldn't be timid, because Adolf was clearly here to test him. Once he was timid and lost his momentum, the old monster would definitely take action. He must take a tough attitude. I came here to clear up some previous misunderstandings. Adolf said lightly, but his eyes flickered continuously. He was thinking, since he couldn't see it, why not just take action and see? But there is an iron rule in the Blood clan: once the dukes fight, it means a full-scale holy war, and the 2 clans will fight to the death. There is no such thing as fighting for fun. Once they start, it will be a fight to the death. So Adolf is weighing the pros and cons, and hesitating whether to take action. However, at this moment, a thunderous roar suddenly exploded. Old man! How dare you bully my descendants while I'm away? Stop talking nonsense. Today you and I must fight. Either you die or I die. Fang Qingyan's voice was full of invincibility, his eyes were cold and sharp. Let's fight to the death in another place. So as not to affect my people. The voice was like thunder. Adolf's pupils shrank violently. He hadn't decided to fight yet, but this old guy actually took the initiative to invite him to fight, and his fighting spirit was soaring, and his momentum was majestic. Do you really want to start a holy war? Do you know what a holy war means? Have you thought it through? Adolf's expression became sinister. Fang Qingyan snorted coldly, looked at him with a contemptuous look, and said in a sonorous voice, I was planning to find you. Since you came to me, don't even think about leaving. In fact, he was roaring wildly in his heart, you should leave quickly. If they really fight, Fang Qingyan has no confidence to kill him. Instead, his identity will be exposed. Fang Qingyan will never do such a harmful and useless thing. Humph! Fang Qingyan snorted coldly, his eyes were squinting, and his tone was extremely domineering and tough. Are you afraid? He was fully prepared, always alert to Duke Adolf. As long as the other party dared to make a move, he would definitely open the 8 wings directly, transform into the Yangyan form, and do his best to beat this old guy half to death. Then elope with Elizabeth. Adolf's face was gloomy, and his eyes were fixed on Duke William, trying to find a flaw in his face. Is this old guy strong on the outside but weak on the inside, or is he really in excellent condition and eager for a fight? After a few seconds, Adolf took a deep breath, and a smile appeared on his old face, which was as old as stone. Please calm down, old friend. I came here this time just to resolve the previous misunderstandings and eliminate grudges. Arnold was also killed by you. Everyone has suffered losses. I suggest reconciliation in this matter. He gave up the idea of taking action, because William Capet is very strong and seems to have mastered new superpowers. It is not worth it to fight him alone. If the Revno clan wants to sweep across the 6 major clans, they can only defeat them one by one. Obviously, the Capet clan is not suitable as the first target. It takes a long time to think about it. Want to reconcile? Fang Qingyan's eyes were like knives, and he said coldly, okay, just let me beat Angus half to death. Let's change the method. Adolf said in a deep voice, Arnold's life is worth Alvis. As for Morpheus, I will send someone to deliver a precious apology, and let this matter be forgiven. How about it? That depends on whether your apology is precious enough. Fang Qingyan sneered. Don't worry, I will definitely satisfy you. After Adolf finished speaking, he looked at Fang Qingyan meaningfully, then, with a thunderbolt, it turned into a thunder and disappeared in the air in an instant. Fang Qingyan narrowed his eyes. I almost couldn't get away with it, cunning old fox. The day I become a 10-winged person is the day you die. P.S. The 4th update, a big chapter of 3,500 words. Please support, chapter 64. Back to the castle, Fang Qingyan saw Elizabeth coming up with everyone. Grandma, everyone saluted respectfully. Well. Fang Qingyan looked at Elizabeth calmly and said, nothing will happen for the time being. The Ravno clan said they wanted to resolve the grievances, but in fact they are just temporarily forbearing. They will take action sooner or later. Elizabeth nodded quickly and asked crisply, Grandma, what should we do? Be more vigilant. I need to stay in seclusion for a while and manage the castle well. Fang Qingyan said calmly, the holy war is coming, and the peaceful days are gone. Be prepared to face the storm. Yes. Everyone responded in unison. Fang Qingyan looked at Elizabeth again. Her delicate and beautiful face was full of worries about the future. Obviously, although the recent family experience has made her grow up a little, she is not ready to shoulder the family after all, but he doesn't need to worry about this matter. No one knows a daughter better than her father. Marquis Morpheus must have been ready to help her grow. When you have time, spend more time with your father. Fang Qingyan said to her at the end. Elizabeth was stunned for a moment, then nodded, okay, ancestor. A gust of wind blew. Fang Qingyan's figure had disappeared. The Ravno clan, Duke Adolf returned, but with a gloomy and unlucky face. Ancestor. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Marquis of Angus came over and looked at Adolf with a questioning look. He had gathered his men and prepared to go to the Capet clan, but there was no sound. The Duke's battle must be earth-shattering. It couldn't be so calm. He wanted to know what happened. However, Adolf was not in the mood to explain to him. After 2 seconds of silence, he looked up at Angus and said indifferently, Go, take out the blood lotus in my coffin, and then send it to the Capet clan. Ah. Angus was dumbfounded and suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. What's going on? Aren't we going to fight? Why do we have to send things to others in the end? But old ancestor, that blood lotus is the supreme treasure given to you by the prince. Angus's lips trembled. There is a blood lotus in Adolf's coffin, which was born from the prince's blood. The breath it exudes can nourish the blood, strengthen the spirit, and increase the speed of cultivation. Adolf has always regarded it as the most precious thing, and it has not been taken out of the coffin for hundreds of thousands of years. Angus was extremely jealous of the blood lotus, but now the ancestor actually asked him to give it to the enemy. For a moment, he was confused. It was totally unacceptable. Humph. Short-sighted. Adolf glanced at him coldly, and said indifferently, although the blood lotus is a treasure, it is no longer of any use to me. No one in the world can become a prince. Similarly, William's blood has long been unable to go further, so it is useless for him to take it. Angus's mouth twitched, and he roared in his heart, "It's useless to you, the ancestor, but it's useful to me." But he didn't dare to say it out loud, or he would be beaten. "Don't worry, it's just temporarily, let them keep it. When we have completed the layout, we can easily destroy the Capet clan, and then the blood lotus will belong to you," Duke Adolf said lightly. Angus immediately had no objection. "Then, old man, who should we target next?" he asked again. Adolf thought for a moment and made a decision: the Satet clan. That old guy is relatively easy to deal with. Humph. The 6 major clans, as long as I can sacrifice blood to 2 of them, I can take the last step. At that time, we don't have to be so sneaky, we can sweep the world openly and unify the world. When Angus heard this, his eyes suddenly glowed with a strange red light, revealing a bloodthirsty smile. Duke Adolf is different from Duke William. William was stuck in a dead end and insisted on breaking through the prince, which led to his fall, but after Adolf found that this was a dead end, he ended his retreat and found another way, which was completely different but could go further, and this road requires blood sacrifices of countless fellow clansmen to reach the end, so Adolf had already started planning. At the beginning, he decided to target the Capet clan, but he found that he couldn't see through Duke William and always felt that the old guy was hiding something, so Adolf did not act rashly, just changed to a soft persimmon to squeeze. After all, he is so close to the mastery of divine power. There is no need to take risks. Bristol City, Marquis Castle, in the secret room of the underground palace, Fang Qingyan was meditating with his eyes closed, and suddenly opened his eyes. The voice of the 4-winged Marquis rang out outside the stone gate. "Ancestor, this is the apology sent by the Revno clan." He knelt on the ground with a small wooden box in his hands. With a respectful expression, Fang Qingyan was calm and moved his fingers gently. The wooden box disappeared in the hands of the 4-winged Marquis and appeared in the secret room. "Got it." An old voice sounded. "I'll take my leave." After the people left, Fang Qingyan looked at the wooden box with interest, and said jokingly, "The fight didn't work out, but the treasure was sent. I guess you are angry." With a creak, "Open it." Instantly, a strong and refreshing fragrance emanated, refreshing Fang Qingyan's spirit and body, as if enjoying the spring rain. This greatly increased his interest. Looking down, there was a lotus seed only the size of a thumb in the wooden box, and the whole body was crystal red. "Is this blood lotus?" Fang Qingyan's pupils contracted violently. He was well read and had read many ancient books, among which this treasure was recorded. The blood lotus was originally an ordinary lotus seed, but after being watered by the prince's blood, it mutated and had very magical effects. A mature blood lotus needs hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation to succeed. It is a truly incomparable blood treasure. Ha ha ha. "Adolf, you big fool." Fang Qingyan burst into laughter. Adolf felt that he had reached the 10 wings and could not make any further progress, so even if the blood lotus was given to him, it could only be a decoration, but little did he know that he only had 8 wings. Adolf really gave him a great gift. With this peerless blood lotus, Fang Qingyan can reach the 10-wing level faster, and the time will be at least 1/3 shorter than expected. Whoosh! Fang Qingyan snapped his fingers, the blood lotus seed flew out and fell into the coffin. In an instant, something strange happened. As soon as the lotus seeds came into contact with the coffin board, they instantly bloomed with a dazzling blood-red light, sprouting, taking root, and growing vigorously at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a few breaths, a huge lotus flower grew out of the coffin. The crimson lotus leaves swayed gently, and 4 beautiful red lotus flowers bloomed. For a time, Noah Da's secret room was filled with fragrance. Fang Qingyan took a deep breath of the lotus fragrance, and the energy and blood in his body began to rhythm on its own, like a hungry wolf seeing a delicious meal, eagerly absorbing the essence. Even the mental strength is gradually strengthened by the infiltration of floral fragrance. It is indeed a treasure. The 4 lotus flowers mean that this blood lotus has lived for 400,000 years. Fang Qingyan raised the corner of his mouth slightly and chuckled. "Adolf, you support me so much. If I don't break through to the 10th wing quickly, wouldn't I be living up to your good intentions? Immediately, he lay down in the coffin, in the entanglement of a bunch of lotus leaves and 4 lotus flowers. I began to practice meditation. It doesn't matter whether the coffin is high-end or not, as long as you carry this blood lotus with you, you can get the best enjoyment even if you sleep on the floor. Chapter 65. Ever since he used his superb acting skills to deceive Adolf last time, Bristol City enjoyed a brief moment of peace and quiet. The Riefno clan also assumed a post-reconciliation posture, dormant, and did not make any further moves. This made the 5 major clans who wanted to sit on the sidelines and watch the fight between tigers feel deeply regretful. A good show is over before it begins. There was no holy war between the Capet and Riefno clans, which disappointed many people. The entire kingdom of Nicala seemed to have returned to its previous days, even after defeating the orcs. There was more peace and tranquility than before. However, Fang Qingyan knew, the seemingly calm surface of the lake has undercurrents surging in its depths. When a storm comes, no one can stay out of it. Everyone will be sucked into the whirlpool, including yourself. By accident, Fang Qingyan became the ancestor of the Cape clan, and became bound to Elizabeth. This made Fang Qingyan no longer able to act like a lone ranger, carefree. He signed in, practiced, signed in, practiced day after day. He was getting closer and closer to the realm of 10 wings. The library and the secret room are 2 points and 1 line. Life is dull and boring, but self-discipline is fulfilling. From time to time, Elizabeth would go to the library to chat with him. It can be seen that she has never been in a good mood. After all, she is facing internal and external troubles, and her father's health has not improved at all, but has worsened day by day. Time flies, and 3 years have passed. On this day, in Elizabeth's room, there is a pink coffin, exquisite and small. She was lying inside, her beautiful eyes closed, her long eyelashes trembling from time to time, and her breathing steady. She is meditating and cultivating qi and blood. Elizabeth had hardly practiced cultivation since she was a child, but since Arnold and his group came to the door 3 years ago, she had realized her weakness and humbleness. Afterwards, she began to try to practice. 747. At first, she couldn't calm down to do such boring things. She spent 3 days fishing and 2 days drying nets. It wasn't until a few months later that she gradually got used to it and could enter meditation at any time. In 3 years, qi and blood have grown stronger, but there is still some distance to go before breaking through the middle stage of Viscount. Fang Qingyan actually knew that she had started practicing, but he did not take the initiative to give her blood essence, because 3 years have passed. Elizabeth does not dare to go to her ancestors to ask for blood essence, which can only mean one thing, that is, she is not really ready yet. Dong dong dong, there was a knock on the door. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inside the pink coffin, Elizabeth opened her eyes and said in a sweet voice, "Come in." The person who came was Joanna. "Your Highness, the master of the family asked you to come over. He has something to tell you." "Okay, I know." Elizabeth did not hesitate, opened the lid of the coffin, and climbed out with her graceful body. Then she went out with Joanna and headed for the bedroom of Marquis Morpheus, on the 2nd floor of the library. In front of the window of the room, Fang Qingyan bathed in the sun and practiced the power of yang. Suddenly he opened his eyes, showing a very complicated look, and murmured to himself, "Morpheus, are you finally ready to use the knife? I hope that girl is strong enough." After that, he closed his eyes again and continued to meditate. The strands of the sun's essence and fire were peeled off from the sun, drilled into the 48,000 pores of the body, and then absorbed by the vast sea of blood and qi. On the wooden table next to him, a strange and beautiful crimson blood lotus gently swayed its branches and leaves, and 4 lotus flowers bloomed proudly. 3 years of hard training. With the help of more than a dozen drops of the prince's blood and the blood lotus, Fang Qingyan's blood has already doubled, and it is not far from being completely saturated and full. He is really only 1 step away from the 10 wings. "Father, you called me?" Elizabeth gently pushed the door open, and after entering the room, she carefully closed the door. "Elizabeth, you come here." An extremely weak voice sounded from the coffin. She walked over quickly, holding the edge of the coffin with her little hands, and looked at it with concern. In the coffin, Marquis Morpheus had become completely skinny. His skin was dark black, covered with corpse spots. his eye sockets, cheeks, temples, were all sunken, and the whole person was like a skeleton wrapped in a layer of human skin, which was very shocking. Elizabeth's nose was sore, and tears welled up in her blue eyes. She pursed her lips tightly and bit her teeth lightly. Father. Every time she saw the appearance of Marquis Morpheus, she could not help but feel sad and reluctant. Morpheus looked at her softly, and looked at her for a long time, and then heard him speak. Listen, Elizabeth, I have something very important to tell you. Elizabeth nodded repeatedly, and her delicate nose twitched. Father, I'm listening, just say whatever you want to say. Marquis Morpheus smiled, his eyes doting. I can't hold on any longer, I will go to the kingdom of God of the Ancestor Lilith. Elizabeth was stunned when she heard this, and her eyes became flustered. How could it be? Didn't the old ancestor? The old ancestor saved me, but in fact, my blood and chi are already damaged, and I can only live for 3 years. Marquis Morpheus' voice was still calm. I am not afraid of death, because no one in the world can live forever. Even the prince died, let alone a small marquis like me. No, a firm look appeared on her beautiful little face, and she stood up. I won't allow you to have any problems. I will ask the old ancestor to come out of seclusion. He will definitely save you. The old ancestor pulled you back from the gates of hell last time, and he can do it this time as well. No, you come back, Marquis Morpheus said in a deep voice. Do you think the old ancestor doesn't want to save me? If he can save me, do I need to say these words to you? Come back, sit down. Elizabeth's tears welled up, but she still sat down obediently, but she had fallen into great sadness and choked with sobs and couldn't speak. In fact, she also knew that her father was dying and his health was getting worse day by day. It's just that she didn't want to accept the cruel fact that her father was dead. She remembered her childhood. When she was 4 years old, on a sunny afternoon, she watched her mother walk into the sun step by step. First, her skin was burnt, and then the flesh and blood fell off piece by piece, leaving only a bare skeleton, and finally turned into a pile of black and gray dust. After a gust of wind, her mother was gone, leaving only a bronze key that was not very good looking as a memory of her mother. Now, is her father going to leave too? Elizabeth covered her mouth with her little hand to stop herself from crying. Seeing her like this, Murphy's eyes also showed pity and reluctance, but in the end, he showed a resolute look on his face. Elizabeth, you can listen to the following words as a will. Murphy said calmly, first, after my death, you will immediately inherit the position of the head of the family and hold the coronation ceremony. Second, I want to tell you something very cruel, but you must know, it is about your mother, Camilla. Elizabeth nodded while crying, her eyes full of grief. Morpheus stared into her eyes, his expression was stiff, his eyes were unbearable, his lips trembled a few times, and finally he said, actually, I am not your biological father. Crack. Elizabeth felt like she was struck by a thunderbolt, and became a fool and a fool. However, Morpheus did not give her time to react at all, and continued. The 2 women I love most in my life, one is you, and the other is your mother Camilla. But I never got her love. Even when we exchanged wedding rings in the church, she never smiled at me. Do you know? Your mother and I have never slept together, because I love her very much. I have only forced her to do one thing in my life, that is, to force her to leave that man and stay with me. This is also the worst choice I have ever made in my life. Tears of regret shed from the corners of Morpheus's eyes. She risked her life to get love. I tried my best to get love. But after she committed suicide, I realized that love is not about possession and taking, but about dedication and fulfillment. But no matter what, Elizabeth, you will always be my favorite daughter. I want to give you all the best things in the world to make up for my debt to Camilla. Morpheus let out a long sigh, his expression was lonely, his voice was regretful and remorseful, and he looked at Elizabeth for the last time. In my life, I have had many regrets and unwillingness. The only thing I am proud of is you, Elizabeth. The sound stopped suddenly, and his hand slipped from the edge of the coffin. Marquis Morpheus had closed his eyes. Ah, father! Elizabeth cried out the most painful cry in her life while holding the body whose temperature was gradually losing. The next day, the Qingyan clan held a grand funeral. The city of Bristol was full of cries and desolation, but on the third day, the Marquis Castle will hold the coronation ceremony of the new king. Elizabeth Capet succeeded as head of the family. That day, surrounded by countless people, she entered the palace, climbed the steps, and then, expressionless and decisive, she sat on the throne of the head of the family. One of the 7 royal families, the Qingyan clan, the third head of the family. Elizabeth I, she is the first queen in the history of the Cape clan. The day after he ascended the throne, Elizabeth came to the forbidden place, in front of the secret room where her ancestors retreated. Plop. She knelt down on one knee, and her voice was cold and respectful. Ancestor, please give me a drop of blood. Behind the stone gate, Fang Qingyan slowly opened and closed his eyes, and asked lightly, what do you want the blood for? Get stronger. Why do you want to become stronger? Elizabeth raised her head with firm eyes. As a king, you should become stronger. There is no reason. If you want to wear a crown, you must bear its weight. Fang Qingyan asked again, can you bear this weight? I can. Elizabeth spoke without hesitation, her eyes firm. Only I can. P.S. 6th update. Xiapuji asks for support. Also, the editor asked me to change the title of the book. This one is too unattractive. If you have any recommendations, please post them in the comment area. Chapter 66. Now that you are ready, let's start a new journey. An old voice came from the secret room. The void in front of Elizabeth's face suddenly shook, and then 10 drops of gleaming blood essence appeared out of thin air. Each drop contained the huge energy and blood power of the 10-winged Duke. Elizabeth was very shocked, with an expression of disbelief on her beautiful little face. She gave him 10 drops at a time. When her father was the head of the family, he could only get 1 drop of blood essence given by his ancestors every 1,000 years. But what was floating in front of her now was 10 drops. Of course, this cannot be Fang Qingyan's own essence and blood, but the reward obtained by signing in. Now only the prince's essence and blood are useful to him, so his backpack has long been filled with various levels of essence and blood, just right for cultivating Elizabeth and the rest of the Cape clan. Thank you, ancestor. Elizabeth came back to her senses, quickly collected the essence and blood, and then respectfully thanked her. The old voice came from behind the stone door again. You should come here once a month. Regarding the use of essence and blood, as the head of the family, you should know how to do it. Go, don't forget what you said. Elizabeth nodded heavily, with a firm look in her beautiful eyes. I will not let down the cultivation of my ancestors. Watching her beautiful figure disappear into the secret passage. Fang Qingyan was silent for a long time, then he sighed quietly. That innocent little princess has become history. From now on, she is the head and queen of the Cape clan, and she is the one who shoulders the family's mission. Elizabeth I. What's wrong with you? Morpheus. Fang Qingyan shook his head. Whenever Morpheus says ancestor, I don't want to die, he will do his best to keep him alive. Use the prince's essence and blood to keep him alive until Fang Qingyan breaks through the prince, then he can be completely cured. However, Morpheus knew very well that being reduced to a useless person and lingering on would only drag down the Cape clan, drag down the ancestors, drag down Elizabeth, and drag down the whole family, and the clansmen need a family leader who can truly carry the banner. So it's not that Fang Qingyan doesn't want to save, it's Morpheus who wants to die. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Use your own death to awaken Elizabeth and force her to complete her spiritual transformation, from a homely girl to a queen who can take charge of the royal family. You cannot save a person who is determined to die, just like you can't wake up someone who is pretending to be asleep. Morpheus is a qualified head of the family and a great father, and Elizabeth, she had 2 great fathers, Castain and Morpheus, a biological father and an adoptive father, are all proud to have a daughter like Elizabeth. In the splendid palace, dozens of important figures from the Cape clan gathered together, and on the throne at the top, Elizabeth sat elegantly and beautifully, but also with majesty and solemnity that could not be ignored. Harry, Charlie. Elizabeth looked down calmly. the two people whose names were called immediately saluted and said respectfully in unison, "Master, these two, a four-winged marquis and a two-winged marquis, are the strongest combat power of the Cape clan except their ancestors. Have you two ever failed to advance?" Elizabeth stared at them with her beautiful eyes and her voice was calm. Marquis Harry and Marquis Charlie looked at each other and shook their heads. "Tell the master, no." "Very good." Elizabeth nodded, flipped her right hand, and 6 drops of Duke's blood flew out and landed in front of the two of them. The essence and blood exudes a ruddy luster, and everyone can feel the surge of energy and blood contained in it. For a moment, everyone present was breathing rapidly. Their eyes were staring at the 10 drops of blood. They felt that their throats were extremely dry and they wanted to rush forward and grab them. "I will give you two each 3 drops of blood essence for cultivation," Elizabeth said. Is this blood essence given by our ancestors?" Harry's face showed excitement, his eyes were filled with unprecedented desire, and he couldn't move away from his eyes as he stared at the blood. "He has stayed in the 4 wings for 6,000 years, and the 6 wings are far away. Obtaining these 3 drops of Marquis blood essence will allow him to move forward a lot." Harry put away the essence and blood without any hesitation. Charlie was also very excited, but he seemed to have thought of something, and there was a hesitant look on his face. "Master, this is the blood essence given to you by your ancestors. You should keep it for your cultivation." Elizabeth's eyes flashed slightly and she said softly, "Take it, Marquis Charlie. You have worked hard for the family for many years and have achieved great results. You deserve this." Hearing this, Marquis Charlie hesitated for a moment, but finally accepted the blood essence. The two thanked each other and left. Everyone looked at the two gifted people with envy. After the meeting, Elizabeth returned to her chamber. She opened a book with her beautiful onion-like fingers, took the quill pen in her right hand and wrote a text. "Marquis Harry is powerful, but he is not loyal to me, so he needs to use it with caution and be careful. Although Marquis Charlie is only 2 wings, he is trustworthy and can be cultivated. Using blood and blood to buy people's hearts can strengthen my position as the new king. Location: Ask for flowers 0.snap. Close the book. Elizabeth hid the notebook securely. If it were the innocent princess who was obsessed with love novels, it would be impossible for her to study this kind of emperor's mind and the art of controlling people, but now as a queen, these are compulsory courses. Elizabeth sat blankly for a while, and Fang Qingyan's figure appeared in her mind. She had an urge to go find him, but after thinking about it, I threw this idea out of my mind. Having just ascended the throne, she still has a lot of official duties to be busy with. Children's personal relationship. Let's talk about it when we have free time. You must remember, I am Queen Elizabeth I. When calm days have become a habit, the arrival of unrest can come as a surprise. A few days later, something happened that shocked the entire Nikala kingdom. The Riefno clan suddenly launched a war against the Setet clan. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers and horses swept across the entire Setet clan territory overnight. On the ground, dozens of cities were captured. The ancestor of the Duke of Setet clan was killed by Adolf himself and fell. The entire clan was massacred, leaving no one alive. The holy war begins when the sun sets and ends before the sun rises. For a time, it caused a sensation in the entire Nikala kingdom. Everyone was in uproar, horrified, and afraid. The heads of the major clans were furious and accused the Riefno clan of their behavior. Behind the anger was fear. A royal clan in Nuoda, a clan with a duke in charge, was just wiped out. Why? How did the Riefno clan end the holy war overnight? After destroying the Setet clan, will they target other clans again? However, Marquis Angus, the head of the Riefno clan, issued a statement to the remaining 5 clans that day. The simple meaning of this statement is, our Riefnor clan and the Setet clan have had a long-standing grudge. This is a personal feud. Don't be nervous. Although the Setet clan has been destroyed, our 6 major clans are still good friends. Don't panic, everyone. Some people believed it, some people don't believe it. When Fang Qingyan heard the news, he just smiled disdainfully. At the same time, the pace of advancing to the 10 wings was accelerated. After a brief calm, the storm is finally coming. P.S. If there are sensitive words in the chapter, it will be stuck for a while, and it will come out after a while. Please support. The 7th update is here. Xiao Puji is working hard. Force. Chapter 67. Setet Clan, Imperial City. The war was already raging, and corpses were piled up into small hills as far as the eye could see. Rivers of blood flowed all over the ground, and ravaged ruins and broken walls could be seen everywhere. Cries, begging, screams, one after another, endless. Ah! Don't kill me, please, a Viscount noble screamed heartbrokenly, but he was forcefully grabbed by the soldiers of the Riefno clan and was forced to take off his clothes in front of him. In front of you, in the wide square, there is a very huge blood pool, with a diameter of more than a kilometer and a depth of tens of meters. It is like a sinkhole, but it is already half filled with blood. The air is filled with the disgusting smell of blood, like a hell. Hurry up! Marquis Angus scolded loudly with a ferocious expression, bring all the prisoners here, quickly. That the soldiers grabbed the prisoners of the Setet clan one after another, arrived at the edge of the blood pool, and twisted off the head with a pop. After draining the blood from the body, they threw the corpse to the edge, and then turned around quickly. Leave and continue to transport other prisoners. Such a huge sinkhole was half filled with the blood of the vampires. One can imagine how many people from the Setet clan they killed. Gurgling. Suddenly, the surface of the blood pool started to bubble and boil like boiling water. Moreover, the water level of blood is dropping at a speed visible to the naked eye, and a huge terrifying vortex appears in the center, as if there is a blood-sucking demon at the bottom of the vortex, devouring the sea of blood crazily. When Angus saw this, his expression suddenly changed, and he immediately turned his head and roared with ferocity, "Speed up the speed! There are dozens of cities, tens of millions of prisoners, and even a pool can't hold them. What do you do to eat? Blood? If the pool hits the bottom, I'll kill you." When the soldiers heard this, they were frightened and immediately accelerated the slaughter. At this time, a subordinate ran over and immediately knelt down on one knee. "Tell me, the master, the army has transported the 4th batch of prisoners into the city. They will arrive soon. How many more batches are there?" Angus asked quickly. "There are still 15 batches of prisoners, each with more than 1 million people, on the way to be escorted." The subordinate replied respectfully. Angus breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good," and at the same time issued an order, "Incinerate all the corpses, otherwise the entire imperial city will not be able to hold so many corpses." "Yes." After the subordinates left, Angus looked at the blood pool with serious eyes. Adolf can be said to be a genius in another sense. He used his experience and combined it with some forbidden vampire techniques, and finally worked out a very evil secret technique. Since it is impossible to obtain the essence and blood of the prince, then win with quantity and achieve qualitative change through quantitative change. Although you cannot become a prince, as long as you sacrifice enough vampires, you can reach the realm of half-step prince. This method is too evil, vicious, cruel, that's why the Riefno clan is cautious and will never expose its fangs until it is sure, because once anyone knew about Adolf's idea of sacrificing his own clan to advance, he would definitely be surrounded and suppressed by the 6 major clans. At first, their target was not the Setet clan, but the Cape clan, but they didn't expect that Fang Qingyan's acting skills were so superb that they changed their target. "That's all." Group after group of prisoners cried and were brought over by the army. "Drag him directly to the edge of the blood pool, cut his head and bleed, then destroy the body afterward." Each batch has more than 1 million people. Once the number of people exceeds 10,000, there are no boundaries, let alone 1 million. However, even if millions of people poured their blood into the pool, it would never be filled, because at the bottom of the blood pool, Adolf was devouring large amounts of blood all the time. Finally it was dawn, the last prisoner's blood was drained, the entire imperial city has been completely filled with corpses, forming a corpse mountain. Each one is as high as 3 stories high, and there are thousands of such corpse mountains filling the city. This is the real mountain of corpses and sea of blood. There is a large army responsible for burning the corpses, but the burning speed cannot match the speed of the corpses piling up. Everyone's body was covered with a thick layer of crystal grease, which was extremely disgusting.